And a good evening to you. We appreciate you joining us here on the Open Forum show. Napes, along with Rhino and Sacktown. The big news today, ESPN's Shams Charania reporting that the Kings are open to trading De'Aaron Fox before next week's NBA trade deadline. It's also been revealed, and I mentioned this, I think, a month ago, that his number one destination is San Antonio. We'll see if that can be worked out. I know for a fact that I'm not surprised at all by this. And Ryan, you've been talking about this since the summer, so I know you're not surprised either.
No, not surprised in the least. I'm a little surprised that Rich Paul came out and gave that hint reportedly, Grant, and in some ways, almost a little bit of a nod to the Kings, a favor.
Okay, in what way do you see it as a favor?
Well, De'Aaron Fox's big thing's about winning, right, Grant? He wants to win, and when you're at a trade deadline where the team stalled out, now you've had some success, you have limited resources to improve, the Kings easily could have made a couple moves that maybe are parts of the puzzle that they feel work well together, but you got to take that risk. Will this work better with Fox? Now you kind of have a clear line and direction where, all right, this is the way that we're going to go.
My feeling on De'Aaron Fox is this. It's time. And I've been saying this over the last couple of months. He is now in his 8th season. He's not won a playoff series, and he's only participated in one. He is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
There have been many other instances of players at his position, many different teams, who have been able to take their teams into multiple playoffs and win playoff series. Fox has not been able to do that. Now, you can sit here and analyze it until you're, blue in the face in terms of, well, is it his fault? Is this not his fault? I'm a numbers guy. I'm a production guy. I am it either happens or it doesn't happen guy. I've seen enough of De'Aaron Fox where I'm open and I'm okay with a change. I acknowledge he's a good player. I think he can be a very good player. But he's too inconsistent for me. And I've seen a behavioral change in him the last 2 years that, quite frankly, has not resonated with me, that I have not really gotten into. So for those reasons, I'm okay to see him go elsewhere.
Grant, you've seen pretty much what you have seen his entire career. What's that change that you've noticed over the last couple of years?
Entitlement. Like last year, blowing off the media for 3 weeks.
Yeah, fair.
Body language. I thought his body language before the Tyrese Halliburton trade that year was awful. And then when the trade was made, he all of a sudden was a new player with Sabonis. That didn't sit well with me. Last year didn't sit well with me. Too many games where he just doesn't look like the same person. And quite frankly, some of his answers in speaking to the media have really bothered me. I've seen a change in that. So those aspects right there have really not kind of made me go, yeah, you got to keep Fox. No, I've kind of been on the other side of the fence. Time to move him.
Yeah, and we're talking about serious money. We're talking about money, Grant, that if you do extend him, he does stay. That really ties up your resources and what you can do to improve a team in a growing Western Conference that keeps getting better.
Now, the question is, who would the Kings get in return? And as far as Sacramento is concerned, they don't have to trade him to San Antonio.
No.
They should trade De'Aaron Fox. They don't care where he goes as long as they get really good value in return. I just read a story in the New York Post about 45 minutes ago that the Nets are really high on Fox. And, of course, Jordy Fernandez knows him inside and out, and that they are extremely interested in trying to go after Fox. But their number one play in the Nets, they still want to get Giannis Antetokounmpo there, and they're thinking that even if that Fox isn't going to stay long term there, they can use him as a piece to get Giannis Antetokounmpo. So it's not just the Spurs; there are going to be other teams that are interested in De'Aaron Fox.
So let's talk about that for a second. 9 days before the trade deadline, how does this? And I asked this question to Jerry, and I want to get your answer separately. How does this affect a locker room if De'Aaron's not moved before the trade deadline?
If he's not moved, probably not great. Not great. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I feel like, and again, it's not great news, but to me, it is giving the Kings a little tip of the hat. Look, I want to go. Don't waste your time in trying to appease me, more or less. So they could have screwed things up. They could have made major moves with the hopes of still returning with him. I think that it doesn't change the chemistry too much. And here's why. De'Aaron's still in a spot, Grant, where he's trying to fit in to whatever this new Doug Christie system is, this simplistic type of basketball. So if the team wins, I think things are going to be good. They lose, Grant, you're probably going to get the same Fox. And maybe if you don't get the tip of the cap from Rich Paul, you're going to get that same Fox anyways.
Here it is. Grant, love you, man. What are your thoughts on Rich Paul and Clutch? They're running the show. That's exactly what I think of it. I mean, that's what happens when you get a quote unquote super agent. It's not really no different to dealing with Scott Boras as a player in Major League Baseball. The agents run the show here. That's just the reality of the situation. Now they're not going to run where the trade is, in other words, but they are going to they're going to make it known that, well, you probably shouldn't take De'Aaron because he's not going to want to stay there. That's going to happen. You know that.
It's a great point. And I guess, is there any hesitation for you being around the league as long as you have to trade him within the Western Conference versus the Eastern Conference?
No, I don't have any problem with that at all. I want to get what I think is the very best deal for my team. And if I have to trade him to Golden State, I'm trading him to Golden State. If I have to trade him to the Lakers, well, I'm just serious.
I hear you.
I absolutely not. You now are in a position when you're the Sacramento Kings, your number one goal is to trade De'Aaron Fox to a team that gives you the best value in return, period.
Yeah, and the Spurs, you mentioned it. Is there anybody on the Spurs that catches your eye? If the Kings do play ball, there's reports saying the two teams have been talking already. What do you see there?
That's a great question. I'd like to leave it up to the chat, and I'd like to ask you in return, what do you think would be a good deal in return? And would there be a third team that would get involved with all of this?
I almost feel like there needs to be a third team. I like the Spurs and what they have in terms of draft capital. They have Atlanta's unprotected 2025 and 2027 first round picks. There's a couple of players I like. Keldon Johnson, I think he has a lot of promise. We're hearing Sohan's name thrown around a bit. I wouldn't even mind, to a degree, a season of Chris Paul, half a season of him as just a short-term thing, an add-on to make the money work. But third team, definitely, Grant.
Yeah, and I don't want somebody that's up and coming. I want a proven commodity right now. If you're Sacramento, you cannot make a mistake with this. You just cannot.
And here's how the money works out for both teams and their rosters. So you can take a quick look. Zach Collins, a guy that's a big. Sacramento has been asking for a little bit of a big. I know that's a big price per him, about $17-18 million. But I think the Kings should listen. I think the Kings should be in no rush. But would you say the expiration date on Fox is the start of the season next year? You got to have him off the books by then?
I think so, 100%. I think he would be off the books by I think he'd be done by draft day next June.
I would hope so. Definitely. Yeah. I'm with you.
I mean, I think because you as an organization, Ryan, need to have direction and need to know what you have. I think that right before the start of next season, and again, I know you didn't mean it that way, but that's the way the question was phrased, is too late. You've got to put this thing together right now. Like, you can't wait, especially when you have a DeMar DeRozan who's 35, and your window right now with this group is because of DeRozan is not that large.
Your window was 42 games ago or 44 games ago. It's win now, baby. That's what it's been. Kazi.
The other aspect of all of this is if you trade Fox, you are going to need another point guard because Devin Carter is not ready to assume that role yet.
No. And McLaughlin's not going to step into those minutes.
No.
So the more you say it, that's why I think a third team has to be involved in this to make it work. There's just too many moving parts with the money and not enough guys on San Antonio that fits the Kings' fancy.
And so next up is Philadelphia tomorrow. They beat the Lakers tonight without Paul George, no Embiid, and those two will not be playing tomorrow when the Kings take on the Philadelphia team whose starters played a lot of minutes, and Tyrone Maxey is the guy that the Kings have to make sure they try to slow down. He has been on absolute tear lately.
Yeah, let's hope those 43 points tonight got out of his system. He got all the good shots out before the Kings beat him tomorrow.
I want to get to this.
Yeah.
How did you manage to work as long as you did under this shit show of an organization? Maybe the biggest credit to you in a decorated career. It's I could write a book on this entire subject, and I would probably be asked to make it shorter because it would have too many chapters to it. I can't really begin to tell you. At times it was very, very difficult. But I also always told myself that there are 30 teams in the NBA. I had one of 30 jobs, which I coveted. Working for the Kings was very easy, very enjoyable, and very rarely did I have any issues with working for the Kings. My biggest issue was going on the radio every day for 4 hours, and which is completely different than my job with the Kings, and navigating my way through that. That was the hard part, not working for the Kings.
Hey, that's when you got your PhD in therapy, buddy.
Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's bring you in on the conversation. Kazi, welcome in.
Hey, Rod. Hey, yo, Grant. So I got a rant for you, and it's a friendly rant, and you'll see what I mean. Yo, Grant. So I've been listening to you for the last 10 years, back to your KHTK days. And to be honest, it was my pops that introduced me to you. And ever since the day I started listening to your show, I fucking fell in love with your show, man. Like, you were the reason why I was listening to KHTK every single day from your show from 3 to 7. And back when I was in high school, I would play golf, right? And there would be days when I would literally leave golf early just so I could listen to your show, catch your show live, and be able to call in. And when you got fired from your job, it really sucked, man, because I always loved listening to your show. I didn't always agree with you, everything that you said. I think that's fair. I think Ryan would agree too. But man, you were a baller for Sacramento in that show. You did a lot of great things for the Sacramento organization in that show, especially. And when I called up yesterday about the whole thing with that move I heard about for John Collins, I wasn't trying to act like one of those idiot fans. I was just trying to spew bullshit. I understand that you are very credible.
Hey, whoa, stop. There's no need to curse. You can talk. Just don't curse, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm just a little emotional.
No problem. I understand. I'm just telling you. Please don't do it.
And, it's just that, because, I understand, there's fans that call on this show that whether it was back to your radio days or now, they call and they act like they think they know stuff and they're so much smarter than you. I'm not one of those fans. I'm kind of more like Baki, just where maybe we have disagreements, we go back and forth and stuff. But I totally understand. I totally understand your credibility and how smart you are.
Okay, I appreciate all. Now I'm going to stop you again. Do you have a Do you have a question that we can help you with? I appreciate all your kind words and your comments. Do you have a question, or do you want to comment on the news about Fox?
Yeah. I mean, with Fox, it's it's just hard. It's just hard as a fan to see another star talent go for Sacramento if that's the move. I mean, from what I'm hearing, it seems like Monty is a kind of good GM that if he's going to trade a guy like that, he's going to try to get the best back. But do you think Monty's going to settle for less or what?
And thank you very much for the call. I'll let you take it off and we appreciate that. There's another dynamic here that that no one has mentioned, and it's Vivek. Vivek, unfortunately, in the past, has interfered on deals where a deal was already consummated, and because of his hesitation, the deal became less of a deal, or the deal didn't happen. I know that for a fact. I'm not just making statements. I know for a fact. This is another dynamic of this that no one can answer, because nobody really knows what will happen when Monty comes to Vivek and says, we've got this deal, we got to make this deal. And very often Vivek will wait too long and the deal will fall apart, or the deal will change. So do I think that Monty has full autonomy to make a deal? No, I don't. That's another dynamic to this. Can't hear you, Ryan.
Sorry. What if I said, hell, what if Vivek comes to Monty and says, "We can fix this. How do we fix this, Monty? We got to fix it. We're not trading Fox."
Well, he's already done that with DeMarcus, and he waited a couple of years too long because he felt the same thing. So, Monty has to decide whether he's going to put his job on the line and do what's right for the franchise. So that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, very good point. GP, welcome in tonight.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Speak up, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
just speak up a little bit if you can,
just
please.
a couple of things. Okay, just a couple of things about Fox. I understand. I think we could grab a couple good pieces from them. Stephon Castle and, like you said, Ryan, maybe Chris Paul for a little bit. Evan Vassell or Jeremy Sohan, would be cool if they threw that in with a couple of guys.
GP, we got to let you
GP,
go. You
yeah.
got a bad connection, buddy. Thank you very much.
Yeah, GP, I see what you're saying. Some of the more
Vassell, I
popular
think,
names. Vassell,
be
he's
fine.
been battling an injury a lot of the season, can shoot the ball really well. But Grant, I think you hit the nail on the head. You got to have a point guard somewhere in this deal. A point guard that can play, not a McLaughlin.
Yeah.
What's up?
What's
Corn
up,
Dog?
buddy? Long time no see. How you doing?
Feeling better from yesterday. Ryan knows this. I just barely came back from my Maryland trip. Yeah, I got a little bug on the way back. But yeah, long time no see, Grant. And didn't I tell you, man, that Notre Dame could make a run with that side of the bracket?
Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah, it was just seeding, man.
Yeah, no, you did. Yeah, you did. What do you think about the Kings trading Fox? What do you think? You for it or no?
Honestly, I'm not opposed to it only because I've talked to a lot of 76ers fans that say they should have traded Embiid 2 years ago.
Yep,
They're starting to feel really stuck with that right now.
they
too.
sure are. Yes, they are.
Yeah, I've talked, and we did the same thing with DeMarcus. It's the old Bill Belichick thing. I'd rather trade you a year early than a year late. And,
Yep.
He traded a lot of good players that still had good years left. But you know what? That's what kept the dynasty running, was how they retooled.
Yeah. Well, the question now is, what are you going to get in return?
Yeah, I really don't know what the exact market is for a guard in this league, just because there's a lot of guards. The West is filled with guards up the wazoo. Not a lot of teams needing guards, really, except for maybe like Portland or something. But we're not going to get a lot back from Portland that's worth a damn.
Corn Dog, you bring up a really good point in this. Nobody knows what the market's going to be at this deadline. How did the Gobert trade go down a couple of years ago? It was a massive outlier. So there could be a benefit of getting out in front of it and maybe getting a really good deal, or vice versa.
Yeah, you could really, it's really just, a needle in a haystack kind of thing. Like, you really don't know exactly where it's at. Like, you could dig for a long time and try to pinpoint it, but it's going to be difficult to pinpoint because I don't hear a lot of people wanting Fox from other teams. I don't hear, like they would like to, but they're not like, oh, we really need Fox to make this run. Like, I don't really hear a lot of that chat. Fox is seen as more of like, he's a good player, but he's got some inconsistencies sometimes and trying to take over games, and maybe he's more of a number 2 than a number 1 from what I hear from people from other fan bases.
All right, so my question is, let's put a number on this, guys, just for fun.
Yeah.
1 to 10, 10 being basically the same as 100%, but we're going to just go 1 to 10. February 6th, will De'Aaron Fox be traded, or will he still be on the Kings? 10 being he's absolutely gone, 8 maybe 5, but what would you put the number on it? trade deadline next week. Well, after the trade deadline, will Fox be on a different team?
C-Dog?
I'm going 5.
So you think it's 50-50?
I do.
Okay. Ryan?
I'm going to go 4. I'm going 4. I will be surprised if he's traded by February 6th.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to put it at an 8.
Wow.
I'm going to go 80% he's gone.
Why is that? Why do you feel so confident?
Because I think that if he's not traded, this is just going to be a mess for the final 30-plus games, because that's all anyone's going to be talking about in Sacramento. It's all that's going to be asked of Fox. When he has a bad game, people are going to be asking, gee, are you thinking about not being here anymore? Blah, 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 blah. So thank you for everyone on the chat line putting in your numbers. I've got it at an 8. We got 1s, 9s, 7s, 3s, but keep them coming. We'd love to see that. I think it will be my experience is this. When you have a player on your team who's arguably your best player, and that player is going to be gone in the very near future, it's not a great environment to be in. And I think the Kings need to and want to avoid that.
200% agree there. I'm always a fan of trying to get something than nothing. I do not like it, especially when you're a team that hardly gets people like the Kings. We don't have, LeBron and Shaqs and Kobe's, lining up at the front door. We just don't. And it just reality. So, you got to get whatever you can. I mean, the Bucks did that when they traded Kareem all those years ago to the Lakers.
Yeah. And just so you know, if players like Kareem and LeBron and all of those other players can go from one franchise to another, so can De'Aaron Fox.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, he could fit, but I'm really curious on what the value is of Jimmy Butler at this moment.
I wouldn't touch Jimmy Butler in any way, shape, or form. He's off the table for me if I'm Monte McNair.
I don't think straight up for Fox. I think Fox is more valuable than Jimmy Butler at the moment by a long shot. But if somehow the Heat just want to just get out, and it's really just cheap, I would maybe take us well, you got to have
Tyler Hero would be, if his name's not in there, you're not even talking to Pat Riley. That would be the first guy.
And here's the other thing too. If you have him suspended indefinitely and you feel like that case has been made to the NBA and the NBA PA, what's the use of hanging on to him? You're not paying him.
If I don't get Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, I'm not even talking to Miami.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just telling you, I'm not even discussing it. And they're not going to do that.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, Bam and Tyler Hero are their cornerstones at the moment.
Right.
But I am just curious to see where that goes at the moment. Not like playing wise, like talent wise, you can't argue that. He plays hard when he plays, obviously. But right now he's honestly doing Antonio Brown did to the Raiders at the moment.
Yep. Hey, listen, man, good having you back on. I hope you get to feel better, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
Yep, I will be here. I am back in my sanctuary of California and ready to roll for the Super Bowl.
All right, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye. So I don't think Miami is a possible destination. I don't think that's, And as far as what Fox wants, I don't give a damn what Fox wants. I don't really care where he wants to go. If I'm Monte McNair, I don't care what Rich Paul says or Fox. That's their problem. That's the last thing I worry about is where De'Aaron Fox wants to go if I'm Monte McNair.
No doubt. This player empowerment, you can get yourself moved, but you should have worked that into a no trade clause if you wanted that kind of power with De'Aaron Fox. But you really don't think the noise dies down a little bit after the trade deadline if De'Aaron doesn't move?
It will a little bit for sure. Absolutely. But the questions are going to be all the time. Will you be here next year? Do you want to be here next year? Blah, blah, blah. Right.
Should you sit him? Don't let him get hurt. Yeah. No, I got you. You're going to have those same questions coming up. Some people in the chat asking about Zion, Grant.
No, you don't go anywhere near Zion. You need a player that can play 70 plus games every single year. Zion Williamson is not that guy. You don't want Zion Williamson. No way in the world. Are you kidding me? Based on what?
Yeah, you don't need that position either. Zion and Sabonis would not work.
No, but
very
if you
well
told
together.
me, Grant, I have a crystal ball and Zion's going to average 72 games a year the rest of his career, I'll
Sure.
pick him up at the airport.
Amen.
But but that's I can't go on fantasy here. I mean, based on what I've seen about Zion Williamson, no way in the world I'm trading for him.
Napes, he came into this season in the best shape of his life. Nothing
Yep.
different.
Nope.
Nothing different
Nothing different.
with the
Nope.
injuries.
No.
Sad stuff.
Speaking
for
of
him.
injuries, you saw Anthony Davis left the game tonight with an abdominal strain, right? In the second
Yes,
quarter.
I did.
Those things can linger a long time. That's another player that, even though last year he did play a lot of games, but he got a history of injuries too. I mean, you can't help a team in street clothes.
That's his nickname, Street Clothes Davis. I would feel on a personal level bad for Anthony Davis if he did not hit the 65 game mark because he's had a hell of a season. You
I
got
agree
to
with
tip
you.
your hat to.
I do, absolutely. I think I agree with you. They beat the Kings 4 times this year.
That's
And
right.
he was a big reason.
That's right. Hadn't beat Sabonis before this season.
Yes.
PK, welcome into the conversation, my friend.
Hey guys.
What's up?
Hey there. What can we do for you?
Congratulations. Hey, I'm really glad that ESPN even acknowledged the fact that we're shopping Fox. I want to ask Grant and you, Ryan, on your experience on the fact that trade deadline is coming up and we have a superstar with a 1-year contract. Do you guys, where does the value of a player as talented as Fox lays trading him before trade deadline or waiting till that season is over? Maybe there's more options at the end of the season to trade him.
Very good question. Very good question. And I'll answer it this way. If you don't get a deal that makes sense for you before the trade deadline, you don't trade him. Plain and simple. And then you worry about it in the offseason. It's all contingent on whether the deal makes sense for Sacramento. If there's a deal out there that does not make sense for the Kings, that is not something that you're like, yeah, we'll do that, absolutely want that deal, then you don't do it. The Kings are holding all of the cards here. They are holding 100% of the cards. It is their decision. They don't have to trade Fox. They're in control.
Absolutely. I love hearing that. And thank you, guys.
Thank you. You agree with that, Ryan?
100%. Absolutely. There's no reason to rush this thing. And as you get closer to the draft, I will rely on what Jerry Reynolds said. Teams start to fall in love with players. Draft picks now are more valuable than ever with the new CBA. So the ball is in the Kings' court. Even more so. That's why I was saying about Rich Paul, you kind of tip your hat that you got this nod because you know your direction. How many times have we talked this year? Well, should the Kings pivot and maybe try to put something else around Fox? Now you know it's time. But I'll kick this to you. Kings fans feel like De'Aaron Fox is a superstar. Some do. Okay,
not a superstar.
Do you think some Kings fans are going to be surprised at what the haul might be for De'Aaron Fox?
Here's my opinion without sounding condescending, because I don't mean it this way.
Sure.
The majority of Sacramento Kings fans cannot define superstar. They don't know what a superstar is. And they use the word way too cavalier. You can't be a superstar when you've only been an all-star once in 7 seasons and you were added on. You were put on because of an injury. Okay, that's not a superstar. So we need to stop this superstar talk. It's not the Kings have never had a superstar. Chris Webber wasn't a superstar.
Bingo.
DeMarcus Cousins sure wasn't a superstar. Mitch Richmond wasn't a superstar. He was a high-level all-star, but he wasn't Michael Jordan. He wasn't Clyde Drexler, right? I mean,
100%.
So fans used, and not just in Sacramento, but because I've worked in Sacramento, I probably use them more as a reference. Fans in general in sport use the word or the term superstar way too often. Superstars are your
LeBron James,
Giannis Antetokounmpo,
yes.
Steph Curry, LeBron James, right? To me, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander right now is a superstar. I have no problem saying that.
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah. Stop using superstar. He's not a superstar.
Zion's not a superstar. He's not on the court enough.
Thank you.
You know, an interesting one is Kawhi Leonard. I know he's not always the picture of health, but his contract is up at the end of next year too. Clippers may be in flux and making decisions there. So a lot of options out there for the Kings to explore. Jay, what's up tonight?
Hey, what's going on? How you guys
Hey,
doing?
Jay. Good.
Good. There's a lot of stuff to address here. I brought up to Rhino. Let me close the door because my dog is barking. But brought up to Rhino that it's kind of like a part of the campaign that we've never really gave a shot in the trade market after that playoff run, and that's something that's huge to a guy like De'Aaron Fox. He's publicly said, I want to see what the team does, this, that, and the third. And there's, like you said, you can point fingers at both sides of the party, who to blame for that and who not. You can blame the front office because they seem to be hesitant to do that, but you also have to blame Fox because, like you said, he's not a superstar. At some point, you have to be good enough to lead this team. You're expected to be good enough to lead this team. We get you a DeMar DeRozan. You have Domantas Sabonis. You got Malik Monk. You got Keegan Murray. You got a pretty good starting five right there. You have to be good enough. You have to be willing to go and drop 30 every night if you have to and put this team on your back. But then again, you can look at the front office and whatnot. And so it goes both ways. But going back to the campaign thing, I brought up to Rhino, I said, maybe it has something to do with, being in Brooklyn. And obviously there's the Cam Johnson rumors and everything like that. Maybe it's not that situation in particular, but maybe it has something to do with like, hey, you guys better make something happen by this deadline because this isn't going to cut it. We're not going to make the playoffs like this with this squad. And if you guys aren't going to do anything, then you might as well start looking now to move me before the deadline. So I wanted to get your opinion on that pretty much.
There's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of liar's poker that's going on right now. And the liar's poker comes from a super agent like Rich Paul and Clutch Sports, who have the national media in their pocket. All right. And that's how it works. That's how Adrian Wojnarowski was as successful as he was. All right. Shams is in the same category. These agents manipulate the members of the media with a lot of different avenues to do that so that their message is the one that is being portrayed in the media when it may not be factual.
Yeah.
To get the best move for their client. Because after all, De'Aaron Fox hired Clutch Sports to represent them. Clutch Sports is going to do whatever they can to put their client in the best possible situation for both winning and money. And they'll put out whatever narrative they have to get that done, including threats, vile threats, telling teams do not trade. We saw it last year with Damian Lillard 2 years ago. We saw the exact same thing, right? Do not trade for him. He will not stay there.
That's right.
So it happens.
We saw it with Bronny James this last draft. Don't draft Bronny.
Yes.
Yep. So are you saying that this maybe it could be a part of like a campaign where you're kind of trying to put the Kings in a chokehold to do something by the deadline?
Here's the bottom line. This is where we're at right now on January 28th, 2025. And you can put this in whatever words you want. De'Aaron Fox does not want to be part of the Kings moving forward. Period. That's it. He does not want to be part of the Sacramento Kings moving forward. Because if he did, you wouldn't have Rich Paul's statement today. You would have them saying, this is very unfortunate. My client is one of the best, blah, 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 and wants to stay in Sacramento, blah, blah, blah. Okay? You would have De'Aaron Fox coming out and saying, this is very disappointing. I don't want to move. This is where I want to stay. None of that is happening. De'Aaron Fox has made a decision that he wants to further his career by going somewhere else. Once that happens, it's not really repairable. You don't really go back in time. It's like there's the analogy. Once you cross a bridge, like they call it, life bridges. When you cross a bridge in life, like if you lose a loved one or a mom or a dad, you lose a parent, you cross the bridge. That's never happening again. I almost think that now De'Aaron Fox has crossed the bridge where he's divorcing himself from the Sacramento Kings.
Burning
And the
the ship.
agency is involved too. Once that happens, I don't think you go across the bridge the other way.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily blame the guy either. You know,
Why?
exactly why? Why
No,
should
but
we?
why? No, but I'm asking you, why don't you blame him? Because to me, like, why would you not blame him? He's been the starting point guard on the Kings now for 8 years and has not won a playoff series and has only been there one time. And oh yeah,
Yeah.
by the way, the Kings backed up the Brinks truck and gave him everything that he wanted. So, like, what does the guy want that he didn't get here in Sacramento? And they acquired an all-star forward to play with him in Sabonis, who was a two-time all-star before he ever took a step in Sacramento, who made Fox a better player. I mean, the Kings have done a lot of things for Fox. Why all of a sudden does he want to be here anymore, Jay?
Right. And like I said, that's why I don't want to point fingers. Earlier, I said you can point him both ways. So I don't necessarily blame him, but I also did say you have to be willing to put your team on your back and drop 30 a night. And maybe it's a reality that he hasn't dealt with or hasn't faced to himself. Maybe in his eyes, he's a superstar, which is fair. Every player
In
should
his
think.
eyes, he is. He is.
Right.
And by the way, I
but
want to
but
get to the
reality
hang on.
is you're not
This
dropping
is very
30 points a
important,
night.
Grant. With this being public that De'Aaron wants out, doesn't that lower his trade value? I don't think it lowers his trade value because he's not a free agent after this year in terms of the Kings are going to lose him.
You know, and it's tough. You know, Rhino brought up some young talent and stuff like that. You know, Sochan and Vassell and Castle, and you could name whoever to me, but I lean more towards Grant in this situation where you got a good core with or without Fox, right?
Yeah.
We beat a fully healthy Celtics team without Fox.
Yes.
So let's not go get a Vassell or whatever. Let's get some guy who's a proven talent right now.
Absolutely.
I like that idea better. And, you know, earlier today, if you asked me, I would have hung up the phone if you said Castle, Vassell, all these young guys. If you're not talking Wembanyama, then don't talk at all. Now, I know they're not going to trade Wembanyama. Hear me out. But that's how much of I'm asking for the cake and the ice cream. You know, I'm not just asking for cake.
Yeah, because you don't have to accept a deal because
Exactly.
you can always make your business decision in the summer.
Exactly. That's the thing, too. So I wouldn't, like you guys said earlier, I agree. There's no need to rush. You know, people are starting to fall in love with players. I like what Jerry said earlier around that trade deadline. Plus, you kind of get to see what pick you would be trading for and not just being skeptical about. You'd say, okay, well, go ahead,
that's where that double-edged sword comes in. And I'm not saying San Antonio has any of those players outside of Wembanyama, but you got to look at your payroll too. If you're the Kings, you are sitting in a pretty position right now because you've got Monk, who's being paid a very fair price for what he's producing. Keon Ellis on a $2-3 million contract through next year. Keegan's going to be coming up after next year. So you have to be cognizant of that too, because if this is the core, if these are the pieces you like, you're going to have to pay some more for them as well. So you got to spot talent kind of on the rise too, where you can get some time.
I see. So you're talking about you have to be able to afford to keep this core if that's what I got you.
This Fox trade can't be everything. When teams make a trade, you still got to keep building around, you know, that's the big thing. You got to leave yourself with some room. And Monty McNair historically, for better or worse, has done that, gentlemen.
Can I leave you with this?
Yes.
I know you guys say, you know, it's a no for Jimmy. Now, I'm not very proud of what Jimmy's done over there and kind of throwing a tantrum. But I want to leave you guys something to resonate on for a little bit. I honestly think if you put Jimmy instead of De'Aaron Fox on the Kings right now this year, we would make a deeper run in the playoffs than we would with De'Aaron Fox. And I'll leave you guys with that.
What position is he going to play on the Kings?
He's going to have to play the 3, probably slide DeMar.
Where's DeMar DeRozan play on the Kings?
He was a 2. When he first started in the NBA, he went down to like the 4 or 5 because he couldn't really guard at that position. But you got Jimmy Butler, who's pretty much arguably historically a better defender than De'Aaron Fox. They shoot like the same 3-point percentage, so you're not really missing out much there. You got Monk playing the point guard I like it. I like it on the wing.
Yeah, but you're giving up your future for one half a season run at a championship, which I don't think Jimmy even takes you to.
No.
Yeah, you're right. But I think it's the nostalgia too. And it gives the fans, we sell tickets. You're gonna give them some hope to bite on. It's the nostalgia of having a guy like DeMar DeRozan and Jimmy, unite together, two NBA veterans on the floor, making one last push. You got a solid guy like Domas, you got a crafty guy like Monk, and you got another wing
Ain't
out there like
happening, Jay.
Keegan.
It's not even going to be discussed.
It's not going to happen because
Right.
they're not trying to pay Fox $50 million. Why you think they
Not
want to
gonna
pay
happen.
old Jimmy 50? It's not going to happen. But I do
Jay?
want to get your thoughts if you think we would go further, and I'll leave y'all with that. Thank you guys.
Jay, I don't talk about hypotheticals, and I don't like to waste my time talking about stuff that's not going to happen. So I'm not even going to answer that question other than to say it's not going to happen. But I tell you what would happen, and that would be New Works Plumbing in your home. If you have plumbing needs or repairs, you would need to get a hold of them. And it doesn't matter if it's 3 p.m. or 3 a.m. They are available for you. They are awesome. They've got a fix for you. New Works Plumbing. Love having them sponsor this show. And thank them very much for everything. Remember, folks, New Works Plumbing for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. And here comes the time of the show when I make Ryan envious with Bennett's and their American cooking, whether it's the West Side Grill in Rockland or their location in Roseville or Sacramento. Weekend brunch, their Sips and Taste happy hour, 2 to 6, prime seafood and steaks at Bennett's. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com to make a reservation or more. That's Bennett's Restaurants. Again, back to Jimmy Butler. It's not going to happen.
No, you would be crazy to do that. And I don't think Jimmy Butler's game really takes kindly to Sacramento either. There's something about his game that I don't know. I just don't see it.
Been a good show, and I love talking about this. So you think that what was the number you gave? A 3 or a 4?
I gave
on
a
a
4.
1 to 10? A 4. Well,
I just don't see the rush, Grant. De'Aaron's dinged up too. You got to think about that, at least on his shooting hand. He's playing through it, but many could argue it's affecting his numbers. You don't know what the mid-season trade market's going to look like. The last free agency period was a little bit off. So I'm going to play the field a little bit. I'm going to see where some of these teams shake out that might be overachieving right now in the first part of the season and then fall off in the second part of the season. And, you know, I just think it would be crazy to jump to a big offer or jump to the first offer you see.
All right. Boy, this is this going to be very interesting next week, isn't it?
It is. You know what? Before we go, we got to get to Sawyer. He took the time to hit us up. Sawyer, thanks for waiting.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a couple questions in regards to everything that's going on. How many years does Fox have left? Is it unrestricted this summer or is it unrestricted
next summer? Next summer.
Unrestricted next summer.
Unrestricted next summer. So I did see a report where obviously he has some preferred destinations. He maybe be willing to go somewhere other than San Antonio. But would it scare some teams off from knowing that maybe he would not sign an extension with the team that he was just traded to? Would that affect what Sacramento could get? I mean, we're talking about Jimmy Butler. Obviously, that's not a trade that's happening, but, you know, disgruntled players have kind of forced their way and kind of somewhat gotten their way. Not exactly with Jimmy. I mean, James Harden has gone where he's kind of wanted to go. What could happen if this does become a little messier as the longer it goes on? And then my second question would be, is this the roster that would be comfortable going with? Is this something, depending on the player that does come back, that could compete in the playoffs and not just be like a play-in team?
Napes?
You asked a lot of questions there. I would just say, in my experience, that if Fox is still on the team after next week, it's going to be a distraction for this franchise for the rest of this year, because it's been made known public now that Fox and his agent want to go elsewhere, and that's going to stay with him for the rest of this season if he stays with Sacramento. As far as anything else, if you trade De'Aaron Fox before the trade deadline, you better end up as one of the top 8 teams in the West. You better, for this fan base, because if you trade Fox this week and you don't end up as a top 10 team in the West, if you don't end up, oh boy, you're going to have a revolt on your hands. It is going to be nasty.
To Sawyer's point, though, I guess it is a good question. I don't think value diminishes in terms of Fox saying, I won't re-sign until you get down to that last trade deadline where he is truly a rental for 3 or 4 months. Grant, do you think every day that goes by his value decreases if it's
No.
to a non-preferred team?
No, he's a commodity. Teams in the league want him. Some teams want him, and it only takes one team, by the way. But no, I don't think his value is going to go down. The only way his value would go down is if he would suffer a serious injury, which leads me to the next point. If you are, as an organization, not us here on the internet,
right?
If you're 100% certain that you're going to trade him before the trade deadline next week, do you even play him here in the next couple of games?
No. If you're that certain and you hell-bent that a deal's going to happen, we have options, no. Why would you? Sawyer, thanks for the call, by the way.
Yeah.
Grant, what do you think?
You can't throw these games in the toilet, but I would also have great confidence based on seeing how well my team played with Keon Ellis in the starting lineup to not have Fox play tonight or tomorrow night, or in Oklahoma City or Minnesota. I've already seen that my team, if I'm Monty McNair and Doug Christie, plays very well without De'Aaron, even though it's a small sample size.
Yes.
But it's a sample size against some very good competition.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't chance having De'Aaron get hurt here in the next week. If, as an organization, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to move him, I probably wouldn't play him.
Yeah, you nailed it. You have a unit that's healthy, that plays well together, and you're putting a respectable, if not as good product, much different, but as good product on the court. So it's an excellent point. We got one more. Johnny, what's up tonight, buddy?
What's up, Ryan? What's up, Grant?
Hey there, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How about yourself?
Good, thank you.
Oh, yes. I was just wondering if you think of like Rich Paul, he's the agent. Why would he want to trade Fox to anybody else other than his client list, which is like Brandon Ingram?
Because he doesn't make the trades.
It's a conflict of interest.
He doesn't make the trades.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And also, you think Monk and DeMar would want to stay, in Sacramento if Fox wants to leave?
There's no issue there at all. The zero issue. And there's a big falsehood out there that Monk and Fox are inseparable. They don't hang out together. Fox is a family man. He's married. He's got 2 kids. Fox is married with 2 kids. Monk plays golf every day. They don't hang out. They're not. Are they friends? Yeah, but it's not like it's not an issue. It's a non-issue. They have 2 separate lives.
Fox and Keegan are arguably closer.
Yes.
Yeah. That is good to know. Yeah, I was just thinking like the trade for Fox for Brandon Ingram and Brandon Boston, and like a trade Jamison and like a 1st and 2nd round pick, or even 2 firsts.
I'm not trading for Brandon Ingram. He doesn't play enough games for me. He's hurt all the time. He's even hurt now. The guy is constantly hurt.
Yeah, I would see that, and I just don't think he has enough defense at the power forward position for the Kings to benefit them. So yeah, that's why that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
Physicality, it's not there. That's why New Orleans is trying to move off of him to a degree.
True.
So, hey, Johnny, thank you.
Johnny, thank you, buddy. We appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you very much. And we really appreciate all the phone calls that we were getting. And I also appreciate when we can do a rant with Grant, which I will do tomorrow night, Rhino, here on the post game. Unless you want me to do a rant now, Rhino. I mean, I can, but
I think it's rant worthy. It's a big day in Sacramento. I think you got a rant in you, Napes.
Okay. All right. Well, the rant is brought to you by EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. And if you go to edhmotors.com, you will get all the information. David and Adam, just two guys trying to do something different and better. This is a long overdue new concept. You go to edhmotors.com, you look at the inventory. If you don't find what you're looking for, it's not a problem. They will get it for you. That's what they do. And you'll take delivery at their beautiful auto lounge in the El Dorado Hills Town Center. You don't have to go to a dealership and deal with all of that. Trust me, you're going to love this concept and what David and Adam can do for you. Go to edhmotors.com and get all of the information that you need. Once again, EDH Motors, automotive reimagined. So the word is out. Fox wants to play elsewhere. There's no other way to come up with a different conclusion. It's right there. Got the blessing of their agent, Rich Paul, Clutch Sports. Fox and the Kings marriage, they're going to get divorced. You know it. I know it. Fox knows it. You can ask yourself, well, why has this happened? Really doesn't matter why it's happened. It only matters that it is happening. And the next part of this that really matters, what are the Kings going to get for De'Aaron Fox? If you're Monty McNair, you don't give a damn where you're trading Fox to. You want and you need to get the best possible deal in return, a deal that absolutely makes sense. And if it doesn't, then you keep Fox for the rest of this season and you deal with it in the off season. And if, God forbid, Fox should suffer a serious injury between now and the end of the regular season, well, that's part of the show. That's the way it goes. But the Kings right now are in a position of strength because Fox is under contract until the end of next season. And the Kings have a lot of time on their hands to do exactly what they want, which is to make their franchise better now and for the future. Anything less than that would be unacceptable. And if Fox wants to go to San Antonio, my recommendation to him, go to the airport and buy a ticket on Southwest or American Airlines. That will get you to San Antonio. You'll be there within 3.5 or 4 hours, okay? The Kings are going to trade you, De'Aaron, where they want to trade you. And if Rich Paul and Clutch Sports doesn't like it, too damn bad. This is now all about Sacramento. It's not about Fox anymore, period. It's not about Fox anymore. He's made his wishes known. It's time to move on. See you later. But we're only going to move you when it makes sense for us. That's the way it has to be. That's the way it will be. And any other way is 100% unacceptable if you're a Sacramento Kings fan. And that's my rant for tonight.
Duh. Winning.
Nailed it. You nailed it. Buy a ticket on Southwest. Got it. You know, you could actually take San Antonio to the bank. You could maybe get a haul if there's a urge to re-sign with them, if they think that they can re-sign him. So, who knows? Lots to kick around in the next 9 days, buddy. We'll be here for it, though.
Southwest to San Antonio is a bad price. You know, when you're making $35 million a year, I don't think it's a bad price. I think you can handle it.
He ain't flying Southwest. Get out of here. Get out of here. Oh, my gosh.
Listen, I like De'Aaron, okay? And I've made it very public that I like him. And when I was announcing the games in his first 4 years of his career, I enjoyed being around him. I was a fan of his. I was a fan of his work ethic. I was a fan of his professionalism. I was a big fan of his. And, you know, I've said that publicly on many times. I like the guy.
Yeah.
I don't wish any ill will on him. I don't wish any harm on him, which is the same way of ill will and harm. But he's now made his intentions known.
Yeah.
So time to go on and get the best possible deal that you can for him. And if it's not the best possible deal, then wait until the summertime.
Yeah. In some odd way, him asking or his agent saying, I want to go somewhere else, it doesn't bug me as much as what you talked about earlier, not talking to the media for 3 weeks. It's the stuff in season that I'll remember. Do you think requesting a trade hurts De'Aaron's legacy in Sacktown?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
First of all, his legacy in Sacramento is he's going to leave here. Assuming that he leaves here next week, he's leaving his 7.5 years of Sacramento without a playoff win. What legacy are we talking about?
Well, Grant, I think he's one of the more memorable Kings over the
True.
years. He's on a short list of guys.
Okay, but again, what do we judge? What do we judge our players by in Sacramento? It's a lot different than what I'm used to growing up on the East Coast.
Usually
to me,
these things.
It's like the legacy of Aaron Judge. I'm a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
You know, what's his legacy right now? His legacy is he hits home runs and he's a great guy and he's great with the media.
Yeah.
But what has he done? He hasn't done anything. I mean,
Yeah.
he was horrible in the postseason. He got booed off the field at Yankee Stadium. Like, we judge our athletes on the East Coast differently than you do out on the West Coast. And
Yeah.
so what kind of legacy are we talking about? What are we talking about?
I think a guy for the most part that brought it almost every single night, whether it was a consistent performance or not. Most times the effort was there. He's been through some hard times. He's been through some ups, downs, nothing largely
Been an all-star
different.
one time in his career.
He has, but I'm going to play devil's advocate and say it's the Sacramento stink. You got to do twice as much in the NBA to get half the recognition
Okay.
here in Sacktown.
And isn't that, and thank you for saying that, because you just hit it right on the head. Isn't that really the impetus for him wanting out of Sacramento with his power agent and Clutch Sports? They see the same thing that you do. They want their client in a much more of a high profile position.
I think that's it to a degree. I think, and this is strictly my opinion, nothing I've been told. I think Fox maybe sees himself in a different light than what the rest of the NBA might see. They see him as what you've said, a very good player, right? A guy that's been an all-star once. And
here's what
and I think more of a 1B personally, but many times 1Bs end up as 1As in Sacramento.
Here's what I think. I think there's a whole nother part of this dynamic. We're talking about a guy that has supreme confidence, who up until this year has been the man on the Sacramento Kings. And now it's Monk.
Sure.
Sabonis. Oh, look how well they played without Fox. They hear all the narrative. They go on the internet. They see what the fans are talking about. And I think I think it was Mike Brown's final press conference after the Detroit game when Fox was sleepwalking. I don't think Fox feels as loved as he did at the beginning of this season, and I think that does not sit well with him. That's my opinion.
You know what, Grant? I think you're onto something. When things go great, De'Aaron's loved. When things go bad, it falls on De'Aaron. He's the face of the franchise, but if you look at the payroll, Domantas Sabonis is making more money than him.
Well, but those things are not controllable by a player like Fox. In other words, there are some things you just have to acknowledge that. But I go back to, he's seeing this team now and how well they played in his absence for those games, including the win at Boston.
Yeah.
And how well Monk and Sabonis worked together, and how during this streak of success that the Kings have had since the coaching change, Fox has really struggled for the most part.
He has.
Has he not?
No, he absolutely has. And here's the other aspect we're not throwing into it. How many guards have the Kings drafted in recent years?
Right. I know.
The Monk and Sabonis stuff isn't new. It's just we got a bigger sample size of it this year. But yeah, a lot of guards. Maybe that faith, De'Aaron doesn't feel like that full faith, that full strength of the organization has been behind him. Whether Vivek has totally, maybe management to a degree has not.
I want to tell you about Sunrise Landing in Calusa. You need to go to CalusaSunrise.com because they'll give you 100% of the information that I can't give you here. I can give you a lot of information and I can show you the beautiful models, from Blazona Development. And I can tell you there's no Melrose, and I can tell you that there's no homeowners, and I can tell you about their great location being near I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20, and I can tell you about being adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club, but I still can't do it the way the website can. So go to CalusaSunrise.com and get all of the information you need when it comes to beautiful Sunrise Landing. All right, tomorrow, remember I told you Sean Salisbury is being moved to Thursday this week because of the game tomorrow. So what's the schedule tomorrow? What time are you doing the pregame for a 4:30 start?
So 2 p.m. Kings Court will roll you right into the start of the game, Kings and Sixers at 4:30.
All right, and then I'll be on with Jerry and Rhino at halftime, and then we'll have the post-game show as the Kings and the Sixers. And here's something else we want you to know. If Fox gets traded, whether it's 3 in the morning or 3 in the afternoon, we'll be on.
Yep.
Okay? So you won't miss anything. We're going to have all the coverage for you. Anything that happens that is pertinent to the Sacramento Kings, we will break in and we'll have a live show. So what does that mean? If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, just subscribe. It's not going to cost you anything. You're not going to get emails. You're not going to be bothered. Just subscribe so you won't miss when we do an impromptu show, which may very well happen. It happened earlier today where all of a sudden Jerry Reynolds is on with Rhino because of the news from Shams. So please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. It's going to be a fun week, Ryan. I mean,
It is.
when I mean fun, it's going to be a busy week. I should change the word fun to busy. It's going to be a busy week.
Yeah, it seems like as of right now, we might have a little bit more interest in the trade deadline than we have
Yep.
the past couple
Yep.
years, but we're here for it. And do us one more favor. Tell a friend that might not know about us. Just tell them to come watch one time. Let them know that we're here.
Yep.
Give them a little sample size. We would really appreciate that, just like we appreciate all of you.
Been a great hour. Thank you very much. Tomorrow, Kings Court at 2 o'clock. I'll talk to you at halftime. Bye-bye now. Thank you.